So you mentioned earlier, though, you talked about how how did you meet Jim then? Like you saw him as a photographer, you saw him as a manager, you followed him. How did you actually like meet Jim for the first time, and what was that encounter like?
I mean, I think kind of how I met him at shows like just autographs, but Brian started doing the 605.
Right.
And I just started listening to it. And I was just bored one day. I was just doing some graphics and stuff, just kind of killing some time. And I sent them to him. He loved it. He did it was at one of the WrestleManias. It was in New York, I think. He went and Savage. He went backstage somehow. And Savage says, "You got to go." So I made like the sunglasses. Said, "You got to go," and sent it to Brian, and he loved it. So we kind of just talked and stuff like that. And I just started doing fun stuff for the 605, and then he's been friends with Jim since the 90s. Everybody thinks, oh, Brian's just hooking up this wagon train. Jim's so popular. They've been friends since like 95. They visit each other and things. So if you think that's not true, anybody out there, that's not true.
Yeah, and, you dummies.
Yeah. So Brian was trying to get Jim's YouTube show back because he had some crappy guest hosts on his podcast, like at Alice and MSL, wherever that guy's name was. And so when Brian started doing it, he goes, "Hey, we're looking to kind of grow the YouTube show again." I think it was initially just going to be like a cover art for the show. Right. And then we kind of realized, oh, this is kind of getting big. Jim's popular. He's polarizing and popular. People listen to him. They love him if they hate him. They want to see what he says. Yeah. So then we kind of start breaking it up into segments. And so that's kind of more how I kind of started knowing Jim, like we've been at the lunches and stuff, and I've went to visit him at shows and stuff like that.
Right.
And, he's just, he's the type, he said, whatever you want to do, I don't care if it makes me look terrible, as long as people have fun with it, I'm good with it.
And that's awesome, man. He can take the piss, and that's
important, he was like the sissy manager, like people would pull his pants off. Terry Funk would on live TV. He doesn't, he gets it. He just wants it fun for the fans.
So with Brian last, that was going to be my next question, but I guess you linked up with him first. Like, how did you encounter Brian last, I guess?
Well, I don't know if you've ever heard this story. Me and Brian call it the last great night of kayfabe.
Okay.
He used to go to the Smoky Mountain reunion, not the Smoky Mountain Fan Week. He used to go down there when he was like 14 or 15 years old. And I knew a bunch of people actually, like when you kind of start meeting people, like, oh my God, there's all kinds of people I end up being friends with at this show. So they would go down and do have a van or a bus, and they would go to different Smoky Mountain shows. And in 95, it was in the midst of the USWA Smoky Mountain feud, which was, I wish they had that stuff on tape. That was awesome. And they all came to Louisville Gardens when it was a Sunday afternoon. And so people at Louisville Gardens, even in the 90s, they took it serious. When it was time to wrestle, people took it serious. Like Bill Dundee was the hero. Jerry Lawler, that was the hero. And, it was a different time. Like it was still real to them. So it ended up being a big cage match, like a big kind of a blow-off cage match. And, of course, like I think it was Billy Jack and somebody else. I can't remember who. I think it was Brian Lee. They turned against the USWA and locked everybody to the cage and beat the living out of them, bloodied everybody up and stuff.
Yeah.
In that Smoky Mountain. There was about 30 or 40 of them up there in the stands. Well, the fans of Louisville Gardens got really pissed, and they were going to go after all these Smoky Mountain fans because they were cheering it. So when Brian was in that group. So this was 95. So you can see people took it serious. So Louisville Gardens is downtown Louisville. So we were like, oh man, it was an awesome show. Brian Hildebrand. That's when Brian Hildebrand first turned, to a bad guy. He turned, he beat the hell out of Randy Hells and busted him up and stuff. So me and my friend went toy shopping. I was on the outskirts of Louisville, like 30 minutes away from downtown Louisville. And they had one of those subways, and they used to have in the gas station. So we were there, and I kind of looked to my left and went, that's Brian Hildebrand.
Yeah.
And it was like D'Lo Brown and all them.
Oh, shit.
And I go, oh my God, guys, we were just at that show, and Brian was there. He thought they all thought, oh my God. And I'm a big guy. I'm like 6'2", 250. My friend was even bigger. So they're probably going, these guys are going to start something with us. Yeah. So we're like, oh, no, we're not like that. That was an awesome show. We had so much fun. And so Brian and Brent Hildebrand Dealer were like, oh my God, that's cool. So when me and Brian started doing the 605 stuff, I found out he was there. He was like, I was there too. Oh my gosh. So it kind of like got on with it and stuff. Cause we always call that the last great night of kayfabe. That's kind of like, you're never going to beat a night like that when fans are trying to, kill the other fans that came to the arena and cheering their guys and everything like that. So it's kind of like a, kind of Cliff Note story, obvious and stuff like that. So, that's how we kind of became friends and stuff like that with that. And we could talk about it and things like that. And then that's when he started working with the gym about a year later. And that's when we kind of was like, well, let's make this grow.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how short Cliff Notes version, how we kind of did.
And so how did you get the gig doing the thumbnails then, I guess, would be my next question.
Yeah, I'm just kind of, when Brian was doing the 605 with that other goof, I don't even want to mention his name. I just would like send in fun things from the show because Brian kind of had a mix of like a comedic show and serious and like historical thing. It was kind of like a good mix of like old school stuff. And I like, oh, I like this. So I would like send in like little fun graphics and stuff like that. I would do like Hanna-Barbera versions of like all these characters. Like, I'm trying to think here. Like, you ever heard the Hangman Bruce Pobance? You ever heard his?
No.
Look him up after this. And like fun characters like Brian would, the old lady. Have you ever heard the old lady?
No, I don't.
Oh my gosh.
Like Hanna-Barbera, or it's like
I would like almost cartoon characters, all these characters Brian would talk about like through the wrestling career. And then that's when we kind of like, oh my God, these are great, stuff like that. And then that's when we kind of, oh, we can do this for Jim's show and things. So it kind of like, well, let's try this out. And then I like at first we were just going to do like a cover, one cover for the show. And we'd put it on YouTube to kind of but then I said we could break it up into like, oh, we can break this up into, different segments. So it kind of just started growing from there. And then, it keeps me busy,
Yeah. And that's amazing too, because it changed the game. Like truly I patterned my stuff after because Jim stuff's just audio with a brilliant picture. And that's where I literally did that with my show. Like not even 2 years ago, I'm like, okay, we're just audio and I'm going to have like really eye grabbing thumbnails and I'm going to clip every segment I do, so that's amazing. And that's why I call you a legend, dude, because it's like, it truly changed the way all of these channels and YouTube in general, like YouTube in general is all about clipping and stuff like that. And you guys were ahead of the game on that. And with the Hanna-Barbera.
That's all Brian.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, he's the one that came up with all that.
Such a great businessman at that. And with the Hanna-Barbera thing, I just wanted to say, because I grew up watching, Scooby-Doo and all of that. And so that's why I'm drawn to these thumbs as well. And some of I don't know, I find them just hilarious. You seem to always know how to pick out like, the part. Well, let me ask you that. How do you know what to put on the thumbnail? Do they send you the clip? You listen to the whole clip and go, so
Brian
they already have it clipped for you. Who's clipping it?
No, I'm sorry. No, what we do is they record and they record in segments. So it's never live. They'll break up this, and I get the unedited version. I could hear Jim coughing and farting and all that stuff like that and stuff. So I get to hear all the fun stuff.
Great.
But Brian will just send me the rough draft and he'll send me like, this is probably what we want to do. He'll send me like, this is like the priority in order and stuff like that. Like, of course, what's that AAW pay-per-view? Full Gear? Is that
Full Gear, yeah. Full Gear.
That's going to be on the upcoming show. So that was going to be like a priority. What's the other one? What's the other? Oh, the Tyson fight. That's, everybody wants to hear Jim's, take on the Tyson fight because he was kind of there when Tyson signed the WWE and things like that in that 98 kind of time frame. So we kind of pick out like the first, main things and stuff like this is going to be our priority. Then we'll like break it down to like, different clips, like, and then Jim might just do some questions like on the drive through that may not be as like time sensitive or things like that. We can use them as fillers. Like if you see like George will do a lot of those. Like if you saw, like Brian posted a lot today, George helped us out doing like a lot of the filler ones, and he does awesome too. Mm-hmm. So that's just kind of how we do. Like if something's slow, we can put those in there. But mainly we break it into probably about 12 or 13 segments, depending on what's all on AEW, how stupid they do or how interesting WWE is that week or things. And we just kind of break them up and, find out which are the priorities and which one's going to kind of get the fans talking. You just kind of like try to think of like, what's the most obscure thing I can kind of put in here? And like, I'm just looking at the thumbnails. Like I saw one, like he mentioned a few weeks ago, like Johnny Gargano was like Garden Gnome. Oh, well, of course.
Exactly. Well, that's what I was saying, right? You always
Garden Gnome.
Yeah, you always seem to pick out like the funniest thing, and like Sokoa on the toilet there, for instance.
Yeah. I mean,
that's just hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, Jim's fun. I mean, you want it to be entertaining for the fans, just something fun they can look at while they listen. Like I said, most of the segments are 10 minutes, so they're not that long. Sometimes they're a little longer, sometimes they're shorter. But you just want some fun for the fans that appreciate old school wrestling. Jim talking about making fun of AEW and things like that. Just want to make it fun for the fans.
Let me ask you this. Let me stop you there and ask you this, bud. What about like the Omnibus? How do you always have? You always have a thumbnail that's perfect for the Omnibus as well, it seems like. And you might be like 4 hours into this thing, and then you like, how do you know?
Well, I think what Brian will tell me, like, we're going to do Omnibus with, John Moxley saying stupid stuff, which it fills up 8 hours, if or more with him, that idiot. So you just kind of like, and sometimes it may not even be like, what can I make John Moxley do something look stupid in this for the Omnibus, because he always has that dorky look about him and things like that.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of like maybe just look for like little things I can just kind of add in there. But like you kind of remember, like it kind of jogs your memory, like, oh yeah, he said something stupid, or Orange Cassidy did something stupid. Yeah, let's put that in the Omnibus. We just kind of like remember things. It kind of jogs your memory and things like that.
And then it lands because it's obviously going to be talked about as Jim Cornette chronicles everything that goes on.
Yeah,
so
and you want people to find like it's not really Easter eggs, but you find something small that you can kind of put in there to kind of make people listen and like see, oh, why is he talking about this? Why is why is Jim Barnes? I'm just looking at the thumbnail right now.
Right.
It's kind of like what you want to do, like little things, like I guess some people call them Easter eggs, but kind of like so they'll click on them, see, okay, why do we do it like this?
Mm-hmm. How long does it typically take you to crank one of these things out? And like, I know personally, from, I do everything for my channels. I clip it, edit it, everything. Right. So, and I'm making thumbnails too. And I know that, let's say I record a 4 or 5 hour podcast, it's going to be, the clips depend. Like I don't really plan it out. Like sometimes something natural happens where, oh, this is going to be a clip. So it's all circumstantial. Like with you, is it always we're going to have 10 clips, or is it circumstantial as well? And how long does it take you to crank one of these out?
Well, I mean, it all depends what I put in there. Like if we have a lot of things that's going to be like a big priority, I'm going to make it a little more detailed and things like that. If it's just like a short clip, maybe not as detailed, but it still make it fun. Like, but I save like every expression I make a Jim, I save it just so I can use it later.
Of course.
Because you never know what, it's going to save you time.
Right.
You just kind of save what you can. But like I said, I'm like looking at this, like, oh, anything CM Punk, it gets us views. So I'm going to make it look like, oh yeah, it's going to be fun. Like the one I'm singing now, you have out there, like Shockwave. When they were talking about the Shockwave.
It's
I was like, well, I'm going to make it a little more fun, like that,
It
things
popped
like
me so hard, dude, when I saw that.
So, it all, but I mean, it just depends on like, if I'm disturbed, like, where I get my best work done is Chick-fil-A.
Really?
I'll go up to Chick-fil-A and stay for a couple hours, eat me a grilled chicken sandwich or something, and just work for a couple hours. And not hectic there. There's a lot of people, but it's not hectic. And I'll just go up there and put my earphones in and work at Chick-fil-A. And just stay up there, because at home, I got my dog. She's always like wanting to bug me and stuff. I love her, but you know how it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I can kind of go up there and just kind of veg out a little bit, or it's kind of like where I do my best work is Chick-fil-A, believe it or not. So I have like a little booth I always kind of claim, and just got my plug and plug up my laptop and just kind of hang out there. And
that's amazing.
Yeah.
No, I definitely dig that. With the South Park influences as well, obviously, Jim, are you a big South Park fan? Is that Jim? And then I see like you got the Canadians up there. I detest that, but no, we are flapping head Canucks. I personally love South Park myself, so I also love the Officer Bar Brady drops, of course, the flappy headed Canadians, and some of the thumbnails. Yeah, where do you get that from? Is that more you or Jim?
No, it just, because I don't watch it anymore. I just don't have time to watch a lot of stuff, because doing this, and, I got a family. I'm married and have kids and stuff like that. They're older though, but, still hang out with your kids. Even though my one daughter's in college, she doesn't come as visit as much anymore. But, and when she comes home, I just want to make sure I'm, where I hang out and stuff. Yeah. But, I just I just try to take, me and Jim kind of grew up in the era of this. He's a little older than me. He's 10 years older, but we kind of grew up in that kind of the same era and have the same likes with like entertainment and things like that. So I kind of get where he's going with things. When he's talking about stuff that newer fans may not get. So I feel like I can kind of read Jim, because we're kind of from that same era, and kind of know what he wants. Like, of course, but you got to keep up with pop culture. I try to. I'll ask my daughter sometimes, like, what's something like this? Because she's 18. And I'll kind of ask her things sometimes, just if it's a pop culture thing. I said, is this something kind of happening? She goes, oh, yeah. I said, oh, okay. I just want to make sure, Like, she helped me out with the Taylor Swift one time. She's like, Taylor Swift fan. I don't know anything about Taylor Swift, except, I would never go see her in concert. But she helped me out with the Taylor Swift things one time. Like there's some more Canadians for you. The same thing. Yeah.
Like the Pokemon one there. Did you have to defer, or you knew? You up on your Pokemon?
No, because it was Japan. That's what it was. Kenny Omega came back to Japan. So I was kind of just thinking, okay, we have to do something in Japan. So my wife's a librarian. So I kind of asked her, I think he was talking about manga or anime. Is that how you said, wherever they are?
Manga, anime.
Manga, yeah. And that's kind of
like the comic book version of what anime is.
Yeah. And she helped me out with that one, because I was like, she goes, well, I mean, she was saying all these things like, I have no idea what this is. She goes, we can always just kind of go with the Pokemon thing, because people still talk about that. Okay, let's just go with Pokemon. Because Kenny, I think it was, he returned to Japan.
Yeah, he's returning to New Japan instead of AEW.
AEW. So
best guys, Tony Khan.
So sometimes I just gotta defer to my family, see if they can kind of help me out and stuff.
No doubt. And like, this is an obscure question, and like, you don't have to like answer, like say how much or anything. So is the pay like, here, I turned in 13 thumbnails, or you on like a retainer salary type thing?
No, it's kind of, I think it's just basically based on the ad revenue and.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Like, yeah. It's pretty basic. We get like the same, thing. I mean,
it's just amazing that you're like a part of it like that. I mean, some people might think you're a freelancer for hire type thing, and you kind of know them or whatever. So that's cool to get clarification on that.
I can do that for free. I love Jim, but if it was just one episode, but that's a lot of time I'm doing.
Oh, yes. I know
that's
that.
a lot of effort, Not that I'm saying I'm perfect or anything, but it's a lot of effort. You gotta, you're putting in stuff and making it fun. So
So I was going to ask you about the other artists. So you had mentioned the one gentleman earlier. We had seen some of his thumbnails there, and his art's pretty sweet. And then there's someone else. I think you mentioned, is that the person who does the super like almost like paintings, but it's like really it's more defined? I like those ones too.
His name's Steve McGinnis.
Oh, that's it. Yeah
he's actually one of the main Terrifier artists. He helps them out. Like, if you ever seen the movie Terrifiers,
Right? Yeah,
you
absolutely.
ever seen the second one?
Yeah.
Like the Halloween costume that girl did, like the angel, he like designed that.
Wow.
So he's like real tight with like the Terrifier crew and stuff like that. And he does like a lot of freelance. He goes to comic shows, and me and him actually talk a lot. We've actually kind of said we need to store. We were like big horror fans, like old school horror fans, and we have like a lot in common. So we always talk about we need to do a horror podcast, you know, because
No doubt.
yeah. So we might, me and him might talk about that next year. Just kind of getting through some stuff this year with everything. But yeah, he's awesome too. Yeah, I love Steve.
And so when, you know, Steve or the other gentleman, what was his name again?
George.
Steve or George, when either of them pop in and we see one of their thumbnails, is that because you're like, I'm taking the night off, pal? Or
no.
What is it? What's Travis Heckel up to when these guys are doing thumbnails?
No, it's just mostly when it's just a lot over, you know, because I can only do so much a day. I mean, I have a regular job. I mean, this is just, I'm just fitting this in my schedule.
Absolutely.
Especially since my kids are older, it's kind of easier to do it. And they're adults. My kids are. They still live at home, but they're still adults. They can do their own thing. But it's just mostly like if it's not like a huge priority, like we want to get all the high priority stuff, priority stuff out, obviously pretty quick. But like there was like a Larry Zabisco question. I saw that. That's not going to be a high priority. So we're like, hey, George, can you help us out with this? He's like, oh, yeah, sure. Jim Brown will contact him and he'll help us out in those kind of pinches. That way we can kind of, like I said, do those filler things, like with something slow those nights and stuff. But, they're both awesome, though. I mean, I would love for us to do some kind of collaboration, all three of us or something like that.
You guys got to do that for like an end of the year one or something like that.
I mean,
big omnibus or something, man.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I don't know if George is like, I know Steve, like, if you go to Steve McMahon, see, it's like a site and you can buy stuff and all that, but I'm not sure about George. I'll have to ask him about that, though.
Yeah. So I'm a big like superhero comic book fan, as like Jim, especially like the old school. Are you as well, or
not anymore? But I used to be until
like back in the day. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, are you kidding? My first AOL was like Spider-Man or something like that. I don't remember what it was. But,
Spider-Man 2.
Whatever it was, Spider-Man 65, whatever it was back then. But oh yeah, I mean like I said, he always talks. A lot of times they talk about those old golden comic eras and stuff like that. And people like, if you read the comics, people love for him to talk about those old comic things. And I love, and it was mostly Marvel, but I love Batman and stuff like that. But I grew up like a Marvel guy and stuff.
Me too.
So you see more. If you ever see a comic book thing, it's mostly more Marvel centric. But I think I've made him like Batman, Adam West, or something a couple times. Everybody loves Batman, especially Adam West Batman. As the best. But yeah, definitely, if I can do a Marvel one with him, like old school Marvel when it was fun, well, of course, that's what Jim loved.
Yeah, like the Hulk Bronson Reed there. That's good. Or the Airplane parody movie cover. That's my favorite comedy, I think, of all time. It's probably Leslie Nielsen.
Yes.
Leslie Nielsen, R.I.P. Man. He is just amazing. What's your favorite? So I mean, everyone's got their favorite thumbnails. I crank out so many. If you were to ask me, I probably wouldn't even know. But of course, I'm not even putting the artistic integrity into mine like yours. I'm just taking from Google, making the faces look all bright and goofy, kind of googly-eyed, and then I throw it up there, right? I play the YouTube game.
It's hard to say because I've heard like Jerry Lawler, people ask him, what's your favorite match? He's like, I don't even know.
Yeah.
And you kind of like, you don't want to feel like that, but it becomes a job and you just kind of forget things, because it is a job. I mean, you got to get stuff out. I mean, you have deadlines you have to meet. Not meet, you know what I mean? But he's not
absolutely.
But we want to get the stuff out in a timely manner, obviously, especially for like if a pay-per-view, previews coming out, we'll probably put the Full Gear one up tonight so people can kind of, get Jim's thoughts on it and stuff. But you kind of, it's not even like being like a snob. You just don't, like remember, like I did that because Marvin showed me a couple times like, oh, I love this one. I went, shit, I don't remember doing that. But I have a fun one. I think the Tyson one's pretty fun. I'm not going to spoil it, obviously, but I think the Tyson one I just did is pretty fun. If you think about it, you can probably guess what it is and stuff like that.
And it's not out yet.
No, it'll be out probably tonight, I guess.
Yeah, and if I can take a stab, is it jock strap related, camera panning out on Netflix, booty?
No,
related?
it's not. It's old school. It's old school stuff.
Okay.
So yeah. If you look at the time frame I kind of grew up in, you might guess it. So
yes, I think I have an idea. What why is that one your favorite? Like, why is it?
Oh, it's not my
the
favorite. I'm just thinking something.
No, I know, but is it, or you know what I'm getting at? Like, why is that the one that's keen in your mind right now? Like, is it because it's the most recent one you're working on, and always like to me, I'm always like my latest is the best.
No, I just put a lot of time into it. When you put like a lot of time into it, it look good. Not that not that said it looked good, but I made it look like I had to make it look like a certain time frame and things like that. So if you can do that, it's kind of like, okay, I accomplished what I needed to do, and I think it worked. So it's just you put a lot of time. Like sometimes like if it's a Daniel Garcia clip, you do it, but I don't remember anything about Daniel Garcia. He's so boring.
Dude,
tell
me about it. Yes, dude.
I don't remember anything. I do it, but I don't remember it. I'm like,
So let me ask you, like, can I compare? Because like we got a bunch here pulled up in front of us. So here's some recent ones. Let me just think. I'm trying to look at one that in my brain registers as like, oh, you probably did this one quickly. So like, let's say this one here with Mina Shirakawa and Cornette. Like, did that one take you less time than, let's say, maybe this one here with Adam Cole looking like a
because because you didn't have to draw Jim's body, because I wanted to focus on was it the ping pong balls? Is that what he talked about? Ping pong balls, yeah.
His mouth's full of
I want to focus more on the ping pong balls in his mouth. If it was like a full body shot, you weren't going to be able to see the ping pong balls in his mouth. So I had to kind of make it closer. So I don't have to draw the body. That helps out. And just make a girl big boobs, And I will admit, she'd be the only reason I'd watch it. She'd be the only reason I'd watch AEW is her.
Hey, man. I put it over. I do a watch along live on YouTube every Wednesday night. And I tell my chat, hey, dude, Mina is worth the watch all the way. Hey, the internet wrestling community wants to get mad about her shaking her boobies. Don't count me in on that. You ain't going to turn me on that, all right?
Yeah, a smoke show. Wow. I love my wife, but
Yeah. Oh, hey, me too, brother.
Like I could say like the Christmas tree singing the word. That didn't take that much time, because it's close up. Things like he's singing the Christmas tree up of Gargano. Stuff like that's not going to take me as long. But like, some other things, it's going to have some more stuff in the background. You got to kind of flesh out and stuff like. It takes me a while to do like the Volkswagen on that screen. It's going to take me a little while longer because you have to do a little bit more with it and stuff like that. Like the one with Moxley doing the ski ball, that's going to take a little bit more because I had to draw Jim as Chuck E. Cheese, kind of make him work. How's this going to look and things like that. Yeah. Kind of make it look like it has to look like Jim and it has to look like his Chuck E. Cheese. Kind of have to combine them. So those kind of take a little bit longer than some of the other ones.
So not a particular one that's your favorite, but when you get assigned something, what is your favorite? Do you get what I'm getting at? Like, what do you get excited for? Oh, Jim is
Moxley. Are you kidding me?
Okay.
Oh my God.
Let's go.
If there's Moxley segments, I'm happy because, but Brian, he didn't get on my heels. Because if you ever notice, Moxley used to have a kind of a gut. Yeah. And Jim would always make fun of him. So I kind of always drew him like a funny gut. And Brian said to me when he goes, man, I think he's gotten himself back in decent shape. We can't make him look like he's a little more shape now. But I still make him like a dorky look, have that, dim-witted face and stuff like that. And stuff. Yeah. So it's still, but anything with Moxley, I'm like, okay, it's like AEW is so stupid. That's why it's so fun to do because they're so ridiculous.
Yeah. You're going to pop yourself doing it.
But like, but like on the other end, if it's anything Daniel Garcia, oh God.
So you don't like doing Garcia
It's so boring. Yeah.
Even though you're making fun of them, it's not fun.
It's so drab.
Mm-hmm. I agree, dude. I cook them all the time, and I it's like, I'm sorry, dude. I know it might hurt someone's feelings or even his. Let's say if he heard me being like, bro, people don't want to see you on TV, but it's not even that we don't want to see you on TV. A cruiserweight division, sure. Maybe you're in a tag team and you guys are whatever. I'm cool with that. But just as a serious guy, and you're like tying Jack Perry to a short bus, and you're like torturing him, and we're supposed to cheer for you, and you're like this fake tough guy. I don't know, man. It doesn't register with me. Yeah.
It doesn't work. No. Yeah. And the NXT stuff was boring too. I thought, I hope Jim did. He reviewed it for a couple weeks when it came back out on Tuesday, a month and a half, 2 months ago. He did like the first couple episodes, but he's even like, this is so boring.
Yeah.
And the NXT stuff was like really boring to do. But
I love NXT. It's like one of my favorite wrestling shows to watch. It's so entertaining, I find, week to week. But
see, like me, I'm like, oh, this is all boring. I can't. But I would make it fun. I try to.
Of course.
But Jim.
But everybody has their own thing too, and it's more of like a current NXT is like a college campus kind of thing. So I get it. You're from the old school too. It's like, man, I don't know. I'm not in it.
I can see that. Yeah. I mean, and like I said, that's okay.
And it's like very hip hop focused and stuff. Yeah. So it's just more kind of modern. And I get it. Some people just aren't into it. I love how you got Bobby Lashley down with the Morpheus jacket though. That's amazing because he came back looking like Morpheus in AEW there. And then what about when you make thumbnails for the Bucks? Like I noticed you put incredible detail into their faces there. What about guys like the Bucks or Orange Cassidy? I see you made him a clown.
Bucks are always fun to do because when I do it, I can feel Jim seething coming out at me. You know what I'm saying? He hates them so much. So you can almost feel the seething coming out of it, like to do the art, because you're like, I can channel Jim a little bit when I do like the Young Bucks and things like that, because they're always doing something stupid. It's easy to do stuff when people do stupid stuff.
Right.
In the Young Bucks, Moxley, they do so much stupid stuff. They make your job easy.
So
to be honest.
Yeah. Well, some of the difficulties though that might come along with the job would be, I guess the reaction sometimes from the internet wrestling community, the IWC as they've come to be known. So, Jim himself has gotten some heat for some of the thumbnails in the past, a couple of them. It's like, does any of that heat come back to you? Have you gotten any of it from like the internet wrestling community at large? Does Jim call you up behind the scenes and go, or like, what is, and I mean, you can divulge whatever you're.
No, Jim never says anything, but Brian, Brian's more like F them.
Oh, so that's what I mean. Like they have your back fully. They're never why'd you do this or anything?
Well, I mean, like I said, they post them, and Brian's like, hey, we're just trying to make it fun. Like everything's going to offend somebody. I mean,
right.
I mean, somebody's going to post something today on Twitter. I'll be offended.
Right.
But I'm a pretty much, unless it's involving kids, I'm pretty much a free speech absolutist.
Yeah.
Like you say what you want, somebody's going to offend it, but you know what? Somebody else isn't, that's tough luck. It's life. Get over it. That's the way I look at things, and everybody's gonna be offended. Yeah.
And Jim takes the piss, like as we covered earlier, I guess, or we discussed earlier, right? Jim's willing to take the piss out of himself in these thumbnails as well. So you paint Cassidy like a clown, but it's not even just the clown, it's like the old school Batman Joker, if I'm correct on that. So I mean, if you take yourself so seriously that offends you, but some of them, have gotten heat, like Mercedes Moné being bald or whatever.
Yeah, I was like, are you kidding me? And Brian didn't say anything where he just he'll say on the show, he's like, who cares,
Right.
Yeah, but it's fun. Yeah, I'm shocked at some of the things YouTube lets us get away with, but but sometimes some of the things that people get mad at, I'm like, guys, come on. I mean, really.
Right.
It's just a joke, I'm old and fat now. I mean, make fun of me. I don't care, it doesn't bother me. You can draw me, make me old and fat,
right,
gray beard. I don't care,
And some of the ones
yell at
like,
yourself.
Yeah. So some of them though, like I don't connect the dots until people get outraged either. Like the Mighty Joe Young one or whatever. And it was like I didn't even connect any until people got outraged. I was like, oh, like on your end, you're just making art, you're just putting what Jim's talking about. Like right?
I remember.
There's no like deep ulterior motives where you're like,
No.
we're going after, you're just doing what's funny, just going with Jim
saw
and
that.
saying.
You know that wasn't true, right? I mean, you could say,
Yeah.
Like I said,
Absolutely.
me and Jim, we kind of grew up in the same era.
Exactly.
And both of our moms, we love to watch. They watch horror movies with us. Like we watch Saturday horror movies all the time. And I know Jim loved Mighty Joe Young. Well, I did too when I was a kid. It's always stuck with me. My mom loved it. So when it was like, oh, I can make Jim look like a goof and make him look like an ape, oh, that's gonna be funny, There wasn't nothing racial about that.
No, dude, and he was talking about it in the clip,
and just making fun of Jim,
Exactly, dude. So
I would have did that with Moxley was in there, It's guys. I mean, like I said, it's a shame. I get everybody's gonna get offended, but you know what? There's other people who don't. So you know what? That's life. You learn to like just shrug it off, like somebody's gonna get offended. I mean, we see in politics, somebody's gonna get offended. Oh well, right. I mean, what are you gonna do? I mean, that's life. You got to get over things.
Exactly. I think
everybody says what you like. I mean, you got to get over things and get on with your life and look for something else.
Yeah. And these are offended. Look how you make Canadians, bro. I should be offended.
Exactly. South Park is hard on Canadians,
on
Canadians
everybody.
And Mormons, they love to rag on Canadians and Mormons,
right.
And I'm glad you have a sense of humor about it because it's funny,
You have to.
Yeah.
It's just jokes,
Yeah, it's jokes, yeah. Any other ones I've seen anybody offended by? I've seen just looking at your list. No offend on those. So
I don't know. Yeah, here's like a Mercedes Monet. I don't know. It's not even like I have any that I'm ready to pull that are at the front of my mind. It's just those are the couple that came to mind there as far as like that people got outraged on Twitter over or whatever. Yeah, so
it's just you're wearing a wig wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't.
And like we all know it. It's not a bad thing. It's just it's the obvious thing. So you joke about it, right?
But if you're holding a wig on while you're wrestling, that happens. Your wig falls off. That people are going to make fun of it. Comedians will and everything. It's if you don't want to have your hair fall off, a wig fall, don't wear it wrestling. Mm-hmm. You're in I mean, it's obviously set up, but it's physical contact. There's obviously a chance your wig might fall off if you wear a wig in the ring. I mean, that's what's going to happen.